Dandy's World is a game I hold near and dear to my heart and in the hearts of many fans as well. Hell, my channel is centered around my OC, Lumi. However, in recent times, Dandy's World came under fire due to some information unearthed from 2 years ago. And if you read the docs, you were led to believe Qwel was a bad person and Dandy's World shouldn't be supported. Ladies, gentlemen, those who are still under review, let me be the first to tell you, you have been lied to. Do we believe Qwel should have reacted better when this all came to light? Yes, absolutely. However, when you think of it from a business standpoint, she's making the wise decision to keep out of this. So, to finally put this monster to bed and allow me to sleep at night, we will go over all the documents and known information to view this situation objectively. No lies, no manipulations. All truth. And I would like to thank my good friend and her mom, a trained counselor and English major, for helping me with this doc, which you can find in the description. I'm gonna be switching between we and I for this document because it was made with the help of other people, and some is in third person, some is in first person. Just wanted to make that clear for you guys so it doesn't get confusing. With that out of the way, let us begin. For starters, we'll discuss the first document that Joji put up, then we will discuss the various employees' statements about the situation. The first document, in regards to BCS, has many significant flaws and blind spots in its documentation. For starters, Joji, the author, in the second paragraph, starts with them talking about their experience in chemotherapy. This is a classic sign of manipulation and appearing weak to gain attention. Now, what most people don't know is that there is the classic, aka overt, aka grandiose narcissists is what we typically think of, loud arrogance, flamboyant, extroverted to gain the attention of others. But there is another kind of narcissism known as covert or vulnerable, in which they appear shy or act like a victim. They're hypersensitive to criticism. We say this because we see this mention of their cancer and the treatment 8 times. Joji could have easily said at the beginning that they had cancer, and so all mentions of treatment will be connected to that. But they didn't, they repeated 8 different times. By saying that they had cancer. Cancer can be traumatizing, that is true. But even patients with these kinds of issues and hardships know when it's time to look forward and move on. They even were aware of the physical toll it was taking on the body if they continued their work, which they voluntarily did. In the introduction paragraph, they even say in the 6th paragraph, being exposed to high-stress scenarios constantly began to affect my mental health and physical health. When you are going through cancer treatment, you want as little stress as possible. This strain coupled with my cardiovascular disease had sent me multiple times to the hospital. They were aware of the physical consequences and could have said, I need the break, but claimed that Qwel and Rox begged them to stay. Even Qwel said, you can quit. Now why would someone who claims to be begging for them say that they were okay with quitting and getting a break? Not to mention, in the following paragraphs, they say, I specifically didn't want to be paid. I would prefer not to be paid because money can corrupt. In regard to my contract or lack of pay, I don't feel comfortable going into detail further than this. What this tells us is that at some point they were probably offered to be paid, which they declined. Now why would a cancer patient deny money? Why would any employee of a company deny money? After all, we get paid so we can have a roof over our heads, food on our table, heat, cooling, Wi-Fi, light. But this person refuses the pay because it corrupts. Now it may be true to some degree, but if you knew that money corrupts, why not break the cycle? Why not be the person to have money and be kind? Even in the next section, my involvement, they even state they did this as volunteer work. Speaking of the category of my involvement, we see the mention of someone named Parlo. This is a problem because they gave no context on who or what Parlo is. No mention of what they are, what they do, and how they're connected to the situation. They literally gave us the name and no other sources of who they are. And these screenshots, they are typical conversations. However, I think what Joji thought was friendly banter, Qwel saw it as nothing more than a business conversation. A friend, like Joji claims Qwel was, wouldn't be this formal. We look at this and see an email from a higher-up sending it out to other employees, not a brief conversation of that show you watched near a water cooler. Now, to continue on with the paragraph, they continue to discuss the Rox situation and how she was known for 2 months and lied to our faces about it. When you own a business, let alone be a president of a business, it's recommended that you have all sides of the story, the accused and the victim. That means, if the complaint was given to the president, i.e. Qwel in this instance, she would have to go and gather evidence, interview witnesses and victims, and take official statements. All of which she did accordingly. Not only that, but Joji states she lied and that only willingly allowed him around us. There's a reason for that. To avoid any sort of suspensions that an investigation is on the person, they must allow them to continue work until all the evidence has come to light. It sucks. We wish there was another way of handling the situation, but sadly this is how it is in the real world. Not only that, but in the screenshot, Qwel talks about how she was aware of a kissing image. Not one involving underage characters. Which leads on to another gripe I have. Why was this random message here? About an art piece with no context to the situation? We move on to the category of misinformation. And the very first paragraph is discussing the video as fact, in which Joji posted a link to a YouTube channel by the name of DOXXing. DOXXing is a Roblox YouTuber who specializes in a Roblox game by the name of Tower Heroes. It wasn't until 4 weeks ago, writing this on July 14, 2026, that he posted a video under the title, "Yes, the owner of Dandy's World is lying to you." But if you look closely at the channel, they posted another video a year ago, even saying that Dandy's World is problematic and made by bad people. And yet another video from 2 years ago caught my eye in particular, a video in which they played Blush Crunch's other game, Flavor Frenzy. But they say a year later that Dandy's World was made by bad people. Do you think someone who played not only Dandy's World but also Flavor Frenzy would be aware that both were made by the same people? I'm also looking at the videos by the YouTuber and seeing nothing but rage bait. Great examples include why Tower Heroes Makisha plushies fail, new Tower Heroes M0V3R and popcorn plushies, and why I am so angry, how Tower Heroes ruined an iconic map, and Tower Heroes fan maps are horrible. Note, why would someone who likes this game have these videos not within the past years, past months, but days after they posted the video about what's happening in the Dandy's World community as of now? Why have an interest in a controversy like this in a game you clearly dislike? And most importantly, why post rage videos to the game that made your channel so successful in the first place? We continue. Joji continued to say that Rox was grooming them and manipulating them along with the staff, as Qwel had seen the literal evidence of it 2 months in advance. We go back to what we discussed about harassment in the workplace. Even with the evidence, she has to see if it's genuine or not. And even though Joji says that Blush Crunch has hundreds of thousands of children in it, even though it's added recently, the age verification is separated by 3 categories. Kids, ages 5 to 8, select, 9 to 15, and ages 16 plus. With the kids category, their messaging system is disabled and restricts the players to games with minimal or mild content. However, in the Discord servers where all of this is happening, the age limit to make an account is 13 years of age. That's the difference between Roblox and Discord. All of this drama is happening within the Discord server, not in the game itself. If it was actual face-to-face contact with the individual or even speaking to them, then it would be considered an issue. But since the kids category doesn't allow messaging, and the Discord creation age is at a minimum 13, there's the problem. But in the end, she took care of the situation by firing him and letting him go. The next category discusses that Qwel was warned the first time and that she was still a minor. Even Joji acknowledges the truth in that, but says, instead, she started a company with him knowing his past. That may be true, but there's another issue with this claim. Qwel didn't create the company solely on her own. According to the wiki, there are 9 people in total responsible for the creation of Blush Crunch Studios. But yet, Qwel seems to be getting the center of the blame. Although there are more members that had made this studio, Joji is specifically targeting her? Why? Because she needed to discuss with Rox about the situation? Because she possibly has a life outside of game development? The category discusses the possibility of Rox blackmailing Qwel with the files. Joji states that he could not legally hold those files against her. In reality, in the world of business, if he had created the files, he has the right to legally hold onto them. A great example of this is the many patents with Edison and his workers. We will be presenting an example of this, the first being the light bulb wars, aka Edison versus Westinghouse. In 1894, Edison's company sued competitors for his core patents, such as U.S. Patent number 223,898. This led to a legal war with George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla over current versus alternating current. Edison won several injunctions against some competitors like the McKeesport Light Company. It was Westinghouse that won the case by countering Tesla's AC patents. Meaning, while Edison did have the rights, it was Westinghouse that made the patent, and it did not copy Edison's model. Another great example is the lawsuit Granville T. Woods versus Edison, which I recommend you read in your own time because it's a pretty neat story. But as we mentioned before, we need to see Joji's document from a persuasive point of view, aka a logical point of view. Especially if legal action is going to be presented in a court of law as such. The court is going to be looking for facts, not pity. In the following category, where it is focusing on the possibility of Qwel not knowing or understanding her inactions, Joji states she was downplaying or feigning ignorance, and they even state that those are traits of a manipulator. While that may be true, it's evident that's not what she was doing. The full-time limit to file a harassment report under federal law is 180 days or up to 300 depending on the state. For example, in California you have 3 years to file a complaint and for it to be acted upon. Even so, Joji states here that they were a team manager, although they mentioned they were a child moderator. In Joji's conclusion, they discuss that they were tired of this, and how they had kept this for 2 years. They also say they want closure and be able to move on and recover from their treatment in peace while leaving this behind. What baffles me is that someone who is awfully tired of this situation would have come out sooner about it. After all, it would make sense if someone called the police right after a burglary happens or while it's happening, not 2 years after the fact. Furthermore, they continue to say to avoid spreading hate, a command that the community has very well ignored. For a moderator or a team manager, Joji should be aware that there would be an outcry from fans about Qwel and the fans who continue to play it. For someone who wishes peace about the situation, they seem to be silent about the fans harassing other fans, literally threatening each other, but address that Qwel has requested a cease and desist toward them. This is yet again another example of making them appear as a victim and make themselves appear small to gain attention toward them. They knew this would happen. They've been part of this team for years. They know that the fans will start such horrid actions toward fellow fans, new and old. Now, since typing this, more information has been given to me, and I wish to address them whilst I have your attention. First, Qwel's apology. Many fans are outraged due to her not acknowledging the victims or the situation at hand. In reality, she says in the second paragraph that her silence and avoidance led to multiple harassment messages. When you think of writing a letter of importance such as this, you would think it over. Make edits, make changes. It's like preparing for a school paper. You want it to be perfect for a good grade so you can get that big bonus to your allowance. If you present your rough draft as your final, with no edits and led on sheer instincts alone, it's not going to be a good grade. She even says she felt that the seriousness of the situation deserved more than a reaction written by how she was feeling. She was writing out of logic, not emotion. The complete opposite is what we see in Joji's document. Now remember, these two are persuasive papers and documents. Treat this as a debate speech, not who has the better sob story. If Joji were to present this to court, the jury would not be convinced because she speaks from a place of emotion, not fact. The screenshots look like mere conversations anyone would have with a boss or coworker. But back to Qwel's apology, it's evident that Qwel also has her trauma with rocks, and even an employee came out saying she has hundreds of employees. That's hundreds of people she has to monitor, to listen to speak with. The fact that she's taking time from that to address an issue that one employee had with their document is a rarity. With a bigger business, let's say McDonald's, they wouldn't even address it. They would say it was another disgruntled employee who got laid off and was unsatisfied with how they were treated while they continued to make their business grow. Qwel took time to sit, think of a response, and address the issue. Now, if Joji was correct by saying, Qwel won't respond, then she wouldn't have, but she did. Moving on to the apology, she says she talked with her team, met up with a professional, and worked with the proper authorities to handle the situation. That means she got a lawyer and has to keep things confidential, thus explaining the short apology. Qwel then proceeds to explain the story of how she met Rox at a younger age and how the situation arose with him. I think Qwel said it best herself. Rox was a close friend of hers, one she also trusted. She says, "Cutting someone loose is not the same as switching off a light. He had been woven into the work for years, woven himself into my life and community, and removing him did not end overnight, emotionally or professionally. If anyone has had the experience of cutting ties with a toxic person whom you thought you could trust, it's a draining process. You think, what if what I'm doing is wrong? What if they were correct and that I was the bad guy? Etc. Cutting ties takes time, because your brain is going through all the things you could have done to keep that friendship and what you could have done to make them better. Sadly, that reality doesn't exist often. They will always be toxic. They will manipulate, they will poke at your emotions, your feelings, and say it's a joke or that they were persuaded to. You start to believe maybe you're overdramatic and that you were the one at fault for not recognizing it as a jokeful matter. To continue with the apology, she even addresses her 2 months of silence while the Rox situation was at its peak and her lack of action. She even states that is not the truth. She states that the moment she knew, she took care of it, removed him, and didn't wait. Remember what I said earlier about this kind of situation even requiring months of researching and evidence gathering. The fact she acted this quickly shows how serious she took the situation. Now, one complaint we've been seeing about Qwel's apology was she did not address the victims. She does so in this next paragraph. She even says I'm deeply sorry, and that she also had to relive her own trauma about the whole situation. She even says that what happened to everyone affected by Rox was horrible and doesn't wish for anyone else to be affected as the victims had. She then continues how not only her employees are important, but so is the team behind Dandy's World. And she even points out that social media is not always a reliable source and can be edited and sometimes false. That is why we are avoiding any Twitter or Tumblr posts by Joji or the creators, because we know that's a poor source of any and all evidence. If people can edit their posts and change their words, it's not a reliable source. The only social media source we have in this document, which I'm currently typing, is on YouTube, which we will discuss soon. Anyway, to continue, she even says they are fighting for the true version of events and that they will be shared with the help of proper professionals. She even takes accountability by saying, I've disappointed you, and I apologize. She's not perfect, that is true. But to call her apology fake and not real makes you no better than Rox in this situation. You're targeting someone, and you pounce at them in their moment of vulnerability. Lastly, I would like to discuss some information that came to light whilst writing this. An anonymous source had shared that DOXXing, a YouTube channel which we discussed earlier, is actually in contact with Rox. Whether or not this is true, we would like to address something. It's very easy for DOXXing, using alternate accounts, to befriend Rox, and what we discussed earlier about his hatred toward Dandy's World, it would make things rather suspicious. On his Twitter profile, yet again, we will make an exception on this source since we are evaluating his hate toward Dandy's World and the creator. It seems his hate campaign continues not only toward Dandy's World by saying that it was made by a groomer. He even says in an earlier post that it supports the groomer Rox Serpent. It seems his account is nothing but hate toward Rox Serpent, but what baffles me is this account hasn't been active since 2024, only posting with replies. Even in a recent reply has my suspicions, he says. To those who say I am working with Rox, you are simply wrong. I have hated this man for years for what he's done to myself and my friends, and I would never work with him. We have spoken out about this evidence for proper closure for all of his victims that Qwel has lied to. There is one red flag I noticed right away, he says, what he's done to myself and my friends. Then right after that says, I would never work with him. But he just said what he did to him and his friends, that implies you had worked with him in something before. You cannot say that you would not work with someone if you had already done something with him to begin with. Furthermore, he says, evidence for proper closure for all of his victims that Qwel has lied to. She didn't lie to them, she took care of the situation by firing him and addressing that he was fired. But as I am saying, DOXXing is not the best source of evidence that Joji claims he is. He had always hated this game since day one. It would be different if he was an employee in a similar position as Joji, but no. He may have evidence, but it is easy to fabricate said evidence in Photoshop if you have the knowledge to know how to do so. Lastly, we had a professional look over the Joji document to share their comments and thoughts, and how it is a persuasive document led by making them appear as a victim instead of what an actual persuasive document is supposed to be. Professional and logical. The professional says in their comments that it was led by emotion and not reason or logic. and that Joji should have contacted an attorney before writing about something this serious. Our professional even added that despite the NDA being mentioned multiple times, whistleblowing is covered by the Constitution under free speech and believes the NDA is an excuse to not say certain things. They even comment that in the business world, conversations are best kept private. If a conversation is happening without you, it's happening without you, end of story. They also point out that Joji clearly isn't seeing it from Qwel's point of view and that they want the drama to ignite once more. These next comments truly target how Joji is clearly using traits a narcissist would, like how they made themselves the good guy, victim, and everyone else is wrong and bad, and that's how they are taking no responsibility for allowing these people to manipulate and control Joji or their emotions. Our expert says, this is concerning and totally ruins your credibility. The professional continues by saying that Joji being a similar age to Qwel shows they do not understand what's being said and that this emotional writing discredits Joji as a viable witness and source. Our professional even says that Joji had no idea why he was allowed to stay around and that his actions were being investigated. Our professional comments. Also, I do not blame Qwel for trying to stay reasonable during this drama, as you call it, since most of the statements of those accusing him are written purely out of emotions and are not logical. Our professional even calls Joji out on a statement they made about Qwel acting differently publicly versus privately. I'm going to go with most people behave differently in public than behind closed doors. Certainly you do as well. Our professional, who has multiple college degrees in counseling and in English writing and literature, says that this document is clearly harassment and that Joji was entrapping Qwel to make her look like the villain. They even share their thoughts on the document. My overall thoughts on this document are: it is clearly written out of emotion, not reason. Screenshots are not good evidence unless the entire conversation is included. Totally a victim mentality, and the author wants pity and sympathy. Author has attempted to come out smelling like a rose by stating their innocence and lack of involvement. If the author was the team manager, some of this has to lie on her doorstep of responsibility. To claim victimization and manipulation, you must have some credibility. You do not. Next time, read over your writing aloud and ask yourself if it is persuasive or a ball session. This is not persuasive, it actually is a poor attempt at manipulating the reader. In conclusion, we deeply analyzed Joji's document, the flaws and the sinkholes in it, along with Qwel's apology and even a deep dive on a YouTuber that Joji had sourced as reliable. We even had a professional examine Joji's document and share more facts and thoughts on how it would be classified under narcissistic behavior and how it would not be counted as a reliable source, and in this case, in a court of law. We thank you for listening to our thoughts and notes, and please learn to read in between the lines.